the craziness for Cincinnati just keeps happening. We at one point we were 0-3, then we were 1-4, we were 4-8, and now we're 8-8 and still alive for the playoffs. Yes, Cincinnati's still alive for the playoffs. Literally just about an hour ago, Cincinnati beat Denver Broncos 30-24 in overtime in Cincinnati. And oh my goodness, I thought for sure, we were going to lose like multiple times during this game. I was stressing like crazy. Um, but we pulled it out. Surprisingly, pulled it out. Surprisingly. We had this game won like three times, right? And at end of regulation, Joe Burrow tush push into the end zone with about a minute 20 left. Denver has one timeout because of an injury to Chase Brown, which I'll be talking about a little bit. Injury to Chase Brown, they instead of a timeout is an injury timeout. Ended up with 1 minute, 1:20 around there left. And on 4th and 1, Bo Nix throws a dime to Mims, surprisingly catches it on 4th and 1 with 8 seconds left. So that was the first time we should have won it. We should have won it in regulation. Then, overtime, we get not 3-and-out, but basically 3-and-out. Then we force Denver to go 3-and-out. And then we get a field goal opportunity. And on 3rd down, we kick a field goal, about a 33-yarder, doink, right off the post. Then I'm like, frick, we lost. Again, there's no way we're not going to lose this game. Then what did Denver do? Another 3-and-out. Actually, they might have got one first down, but basically 3-and-out. And then Joe Burrow does what Joe Burrow does best. Finds a wide receiver in the end zone. Boom. Touchdown, T. Higgins. We win the game. It was absolutely a crazy, crazy game. And I just got to go straight into what, his history was made in this game. First, let's talk about T. Higgins. Mr. T. Higgins. Apparently, this game was T time because he had 11 catches for 31 yards and 3 touchdowns. Joe Burrow had 3 passing touchdowns, and each of them were to T. Higgins. We have to pay this man. Whatever, I don't care what it takes. No matter what happens, we have to figure out a way to pay T. Higgins. We have to figure out a way to make sure that Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase, and T. Higgins stay on the same team. They're just insane together. T. Higgins, this was like T. Higgins' breakout year or breakout game, even though he's breaking out multiple times because he's just that good. He could be a wide receiver 1 on pretty much any other team in the NFL, especially any other team in the AFC North. T. Higgins is the wide receiver 1 without a doubt in my mind. He played lights out. And after the game, star wide receiver, our wide receiver 1, Ja'Marr Chase, had this to say about T. Higgins. If this was his last game in the stadium, he went out with a bang. Obviously, 11 catches, 131 yards, 3 touchdowns. One of them, the game-winning catch. But that's a big if, Ja'Marr Chase said. He believes that there's a big chance T. Higgins actually comes back this next season. And I had a whole video talking about this. Joe Burrow said he's going to do whatever it takes. Ja'Marr Chase said he's going to do whatever it takes. T. Higgins said he's going to do whatever it takes. And earlier before this game, T. Higgins mentioned how when driving to the stadium, he was thinking about how this could be his last game in Cincinnati. But he also said that the main motivator for going forward isn't just to be paid like a wide receiver 1. He said if he stays with Cincinnati, he's playing with, if not the best QB in the NFL. And if he stays in Cincinnati, he's playing with the best, if not the best, wide receiver in the NFL of Ja'Marr Chase. And he knows how special of a group that is. And it looks like he actually really wants to keep that core together. So hopefully Cincinnati can do the right thing, figure out a way to pay. Obviously, Joe Burrow's already paid, but pay Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins. Keep them in Cincinnati. Because if you keep them in Cincinnati and you figure out the defense, this is a Super Bowl contender every single year without a doubt in my mind. Now, on the opposite side, but Joe Burrow, the quarterback that should win the MVP. And trust me, there is going to be a video coming out very soon on why I think Joe Burrow should be the MVP of the NFL. But anyways, Joe Burrow with the season on the line. This was basically a playoff game. That's what I called it. That's what most Bengal fans called it. This was a playoff game. Broncos are a playoff team. If we win this game, that shows that we can win a game in the playoffs. And it was a playoff game. If we win, we go home. Our season's over. If we lost, that means we're knocked out of the playoffs. If we win, we stay alive. What did Joe Burrow do? Well, threw for 39 for 49 pass attempts, 412 passing yards, 4 total touchdowns. 1 was a rushing touchdown. And then obviously he got the dub. He is the MVP, the absolute MVP this season. It's just he's playing lights out better than anybody else in the league. And I don't care if he's lost to Lamar Jackson twice this season. I don't care that Josh Allen had 3 passing and 3 rushing touchdowns in one game. I don't care. Joe Burrow is doing things that no one has ever done in his history of the NFL. This is his 8th consecutive game with over 250 passing yards and 3 or more passing touchdowns. That's insane. The closest to that is 6 consecutive games. Tom Brady, literally the GOAT of football, the GOAT of the quarterback position, had 6 consecutive games passing for 250 and 3 touchdowns. Joe Burrow has done that 8 games in a row. He is making history. Making history. And he's like 400 yards away for passing for 5,000 yards in the season, which is absolutely insane. But we got the dub. We needed what we had to do. So let's look at the box score. And when you look at this box score, honestly, it should have been Cincinnati. It should have gone to overtime. Cincinnati should have absolutely destroyed the Broncos. It should have been a blowout. The defense played lights out in the first half, like insane lights out. The offense was actually struggling in the first half, and it was honestly, after all of it, Joe Burrow realistically didn't have the best game of his. It was probably the worst game he's had this season outside of the Week 1 against the Patriots, and he still had 400 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. And for his standards, it was not a good game. But anyways, team stats, total yards. Broncos had basically a little bit under 330. We had pretty much 500 passing yards, 200 for the Broncos. We had almost 400 rushing yards. Broncos had 123. We had 115 yards per play, basically the same. Each are averaging around 5 to 6 yards a play. So first quarter or first half was a very defensive game. Second half, very offensive game. It was like literally 7-3 at halftime, and final score was 30-24. It was a very defensive game, then turned to a very much of an offensive game. Going forward, this is other team stats. First downs, Broncos 19, Cincinnati 34. Third down efficiency, Broncos 4-12, Bengals 7-13. Fourth down efficiency, Brown went for a one-time, 4th and 1 to tie the game to go to overtime, one of one. This is the main reason why Bengals wasn't a blowout. On 4th down, we were 1-3. I think all 3 of those 4th downs were in the red zone. I know the 2 of them that failed were in the red zone. One of them was around the 20-yard line. One of them was on like the 1 yard or the 3-yard line. Total plays 60 for the Broncos, 84 for the Bengals. Sacks allowed. Bengals got 2. Broncos had 7 sacks. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Broncos had 7 sacks. 7 sacks. And Joe Burrow still threw for over 400 yards and 3 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Absolutely insane. Broncos had 4 punts. We only had 1. Penalties, Broncos had 7 for 35. We had 3 for 15. Fumbles lost. T. Higgins lost a fumble. That was another point where I thought we were going to lose the game because our offense wasn't. That was when the beginning of the offensive game started. Our offense had just now started to click, and T. Higgins fumbled as we were driving. But this is crazy. Time of possession. Broncos had the ball for 26 minutes and 57 seconds. Cincinnati had it for 41 minutes and 56 seconds. Looking at these stats, it looks like Cincinnati blew the Broncos out of the water. But no, for whatever reason, Cincinnati cannot play a complimentary game. And yes, I'm happy our playoff hopes are still alive. But the fact that we cannot play a complimentary game, if the offense played how the offense did in the second half that they did in the first half, it would have been a blowout. If the offense clicked in the first half, going into halftime, it would have been 28-3. It would have been a blowout. But no, the defense was clicking, so the offense obviously is not going to click. In the second half, offense was clicking, defense is obviously not going to click. Defense came up really big in the end of the game, 100%. Jermaine Pratt with an interception, which allowed us to go get another touchdown, forcing them 3 and out in overtime all the times. It's really weird. The Broncos were playing for the tie. They were hoping that the time would run out because if they won or got a tie, they were in the playoffs and Cincinnati was booted. But they played really conservative at the end of the game. Even after they scored on the 4th down, Bo Nix wanted to go for 2 to end the game, but they ended up kicking the extra point to send it to overtime. I probably would have gone for 2. My playoff lines are on the hope. against one of the worst red zone defenses in the league, I'm going for two automatically. But anyways, they didn't, so here we are. Cincinnati won. That's all I care about. Now looking at the Bengals offense and see what they did. Obviously, Joe Burrow, like I said, already 39 for 45, 400 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Chase Brown had a great day, 20 carries for 67 yards, averaging 3.5 yards per carry pretty much. And then at the very end of regulation, he had a run, got to the 1 yard line. Instead of scoring to shave some time, he slid. Ended up, Zach Taylor after the game said he suffered an ankle sprain, so hopefully Chase Brown can be back for next Sunday's game. Joe Burrow got in with some of the rushing, 4 rushes for 25 yards. And Khalil Herbert, after Chase Brown went down, also came up with some big plays, 4 carries for 23 yards, 5 yards carry. So everyone was stepping up. Everyone was receiving. Obviously, T. Higgins, it was the T. Higgins game. 11 catches, like I said, 131 yards, like I said, averaged 12 yards a catch with 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase still had a game. Didn't have any touchdowns, but he still had 9 receptions for 102 yards, averaging 11 yards per catch. And he did this pretty much on PS2. If you don't know who PS2 is, Pat Surtain, one of the best corners, if not the best corners in the league, plays for the Denver Broncos, and Jamar Chase was doing this against the best of the best. Mike Gesicki had a great game, 10 catches for 86 yards, averaging 8 yards per catch. Same with Yoshi. Yoshi had some big plays. He had a touchdown, actually, that got called back. He had 3 catches for 60 yards, basically averaging 20 yards per catch. Chase Brown got involved in the game as well, receiving 4 catches for 24 yards, averaging 6 yards per catch. It was an overall great performance by everybody. Everybody played lights out. Of course, I know exactly what everybody's thinking. What does this mean for the playoff chances? Yes, Cincinnati is still alive, and now we're going to show you what you have to be rooting for tomorrow. So, everything the Bengals have needed to do has happened. We beat the Titans, we beat the Browns, and we beat the Broncos. That's exactly what we need to do. For the Broncos, they're doing exactly what we need them to do. They beat the Colts, lost to the Chargers, and now lost to us. So now they have one game next week against the Chiefs that they need to lose. Obviously, the Bengals need to win against the Steelers. But we still need the Colts and the Dolphins to both lose a game, one more game each. I think realistically the best chances are for the Colts and Dolphins to both lose tomorrow. Colts are playing at New York against the Giants, and the Dolphins are playing at Cleveland against the Browns. The Colts have announced Anthony Richardson is not playing. Joe Flacco is starting this game, and the Dolphins have announced that Tua Tagovailoa is downgraded to doubtful. And usually, when a player is labeled as doubtful, it means that they're not going to play, which would mean Tyler Huntley, former Baltimore Raven, will be the starter for the Dolphins going into Cleveland. And Miami is known to perform bad in cold environments. So tomorrow, what do we got to root for? We got to root for the Giants to beat the Colts, and we got to root for the Browns, that team up north, to beat the Miami Dolphins. That's exactly what needs to happen. And if that happens, that means the Colts and the Dolphins are both eliminated from the playoffs, and then they can do whatever they want. I don't care if they win the next game. But if the Colts and Dolphins both lose tomorrow, then everything comes down to the last week of the game. And last week of the season. Even if they win, it comes down to the last week of the season. So, but if they lose, both teams losing, like I hope they do, and projecting them to lose, then it comes down to the Bengals beating the Steelers at Pittsburgh, and then the Broncos beating the Kansas City Chiefs at Denver. That's the big one. People don't know if the Chiefs are going to sit their starters or not. They haven't said if they're going to or not. Chiefs obviously don't want the Broncos or the Bengals to make the playoffs. Obviously, divisional rival with the Broncos. Obviously, pretty much an AFC rival with the Bengals at this point. Pretty much rivals. It all comes down to the last week. Everything is happening in the last week. And like I said at the beginning of the video, we started 0-3. Then we were 1-4. And then we were 4-8. The fact that the Bengals are now 8-8 with still a chance to make the playoffs is absolutely insane. It hasn't been the season that we wanted, but the fact that we're still playing meaningful football this late in December with a chance to make the playoffs with how the season has gone and how historically bad our defense has performed, even though they've had moments, is absolutely insane to me. But glad we got the win. Enjoy this dub. Let's go Giants and let's go Browns. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the game like I did. Hopefully you didn't get as stressed as me because I felt like I was going to throw up multiple times. But don't forget to like this video, comment on what you think is going to happen if the Bengals still have a realistic chance to make the playoffs, and let me know if you think Joe Burrow should win the MVP. Don't forget to subscribe to the Bengals Digest channel for all the trades, rumors, updates, reactions, everything going on at Cincinnati Bengals is going down here on the Bengals Digest channel. I'm Carson Lokey. Thank you so much for watching. Good night, and God bless.